Welcome to Bator International's Classic Online Motorcycle Sales. Today we're going to go ahead and continue on with chapter number 6 of the teardown or the restoration of the 1957 Harley Davidson XL Sportster, very first year of course. In our last chapter we went ahead and tore down the remainder of the chassis, pulled the wheels off and so on. And today we're going to be working on unlacing or delacing the rear wheel because the rear spokes are stainless steel and we're going to send them out for CAD. Plus it has the little bees on the heads of each spoke. So this very nice wheel, which is perfect, I'm going to tear down. Also with regards to the issue about the front wheel of the bike itself, and let me just bring this up here. We talked about how the spokes were bowing like that, and we were figuring on, what the issue was, what the problem was. So I happened to have an original front wheel that was quite rusted, and I compared the two, and they were actually laced up correctly, and this is a correct front wheel rim. But the big difference is if you take a look at the different size on the actual spoke itself, also the diameter of the spoke nipples are different. And also the gauge of the actual spoke itself, you see here by the different sizes on the heads, quite different. So what's happening is the actual nipple or the diameter of the nipple coming out of the hole will not allow the nipple itself or the spoke to straighten up enough to be in line with the hole that it needs to go to. So what's happening is it's pinching right in this area here. I don't know if you can see that or not. And it's just not letting it kick up enough to give us a straight spoke. So it's what can I say, hindered in that area. So I went ahead and pulled the old wheel down. I cut the spokes out, and I'm going to go ahead and send them off to Kenny Buchanan to have him match these, because actually on the front spokes they have a taper, and I'm sure it's very hard to see in the camera here, but there's a taper, a different diameter up here next to the head. And then it tapers down right here and then goes down to the actual nipple. And again, the diameter of the nipple is smaller than what you see here. So the front wheel is going to be torn down, back wheel is going to be torn down. We're going to get new spokes for the front. I'm going to go ahead and reuse these spokes for the back wheel, but I'm going to again take them off, pull the bees off, sand them down, and then I'll send these out for CAD plating. And you can CAD over stainless. So if you have raw steel, plain steel, or if you have stainless steel, you send them out to the plater. I know a lot of guys, excuse me, a lot of guys will take the stainless and they'll actually give them a little light sandblast to give a little bit of a CAD look. And that's also one other way that you can do it, but I prefer to go ahead and do it the right way, send them out for CAD. So we're going to go ahead and get these wheels torn down. Actually, the front wheel, I'm not going to tear down until I have the spokes. And then I think we'll tear the wheel down, but we'll see as we go along. Not exactly sure. So we'll go ahead and start with the despoking of the rear wheel and get that all done. And just to show you some of the peripherals that came off of the wheels as I took them apart, and we'll send out the backing plates all for repolishing. And it looks like there was actually a repair. I don't know if you can see that or not, but right here and here, somebody's done a weld job, and it's a little bit different alloy, so it sort of discolors a little bit. The wheels, these are the proper Goodyear Super Eagles, and they're in very nice condition, so we'll clean them up and they'll go back on the bike. And here's the rear wheel that was matching to the other front wheel that I torn down. Also, let's walk over here to the Sandblaster and also the parts wash. This is the other front brake drum, so since I'm going to go ahead and redo one wheel, I'll do that one as well. I've got some of the hardware soaking here before I throw them in the Sandblaster, because again they have to go out for CAD plating. And here's my pile of things that I need to blast, clean up before it goes out to the next process. And while I'm here, I'm starting my pile of items that I have already blasted, And a lot of these parts are either going to go CAD plated or parkerized. And I do the parkerizing in-house, which is actually a fairly simple process. So here we are, and we'll go ahead and continue on with the teardown of the 57 Harley Davidson Sportster. The delacing or the unspoking of the wheel is relatively simple, but it's just time consuming. It's always best if you have a spoke wrench. If you don't, you can also use just a standard wrench, but again, I loosened this one up here just to show you, but it's, again, you just unscrew it, and then if you want, they usually have a slot back here, and you can hook it up to a power drill with a flat blade, and then you can unscrew them after you loosen them up. So we'll go ahead and get all these loosened up, and then we'll go ahead and grab a drill and take it all apart. It's also a good idea if you're going to unlace a wheel for the purpose of putting new spokes in and so on. Take a lot of pictures of how your spokes are laid out, because if you don't have a manual to show you how the spokes are laid out, it's always best to take pictures before you undo them so you know which ones go to where. Also, on the front wheel, you have inner and outer spokes. When I say inner and outer, I'm talking about the heads. So it's always good to get a good layout on your spokes before you pull the wheels down completely. Okay, moving on. You see we have the one side of the spokes all loose here, and I basically did that with the spoke wrench. And now we're going to go ahead and loosen up the other side, being that we have this half loose. Now these are pretty much finger tight or almost finger tight, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my little drill here and just go ahead and unscrew the spoke nipples. Sort of saves a little bit of time. So we'll go ahead and get these spokes out, and I think I'll probably go ahead and pull down the front wheel as well, so we'll get that knocked out. Now that we have the entire back wheel broken down, I'm going to go ahead and take the spokes over to my belt sander, and I'm going to knock off the B's. I don't know if you can see that or not, but we're going to pull the B off. And I went ahead and put the nipples on the spokes, because after I do polish off the B's, I'm going to go ahead and throw them in the sandblaster and give them a quick sandblast. That way the CAD plating will also adhere a little bit better. And we'll take her to the next. I think we'll go ahead and pull down the front wheel next after we get this portion of it done. I'm not going to go ahead and polish or do anything with these spokes because they're not going to be used. I'm going to get a new set of the thinner gauge spokes from Buchanan's, and then we'll go ahead and polish those B's off and send them to the CAD plater as well. I know some of you will say, why in the heck did he pull these wheels down? They were in perfect condition. But the bottom line is if you want a 100-pointer, you cannot go with improper spokes. And if you take a look at the size of the head on this one, maybe I'll get a little bit different background on it so you can see, there's a huge difference in the size of the head, huge difference in the size of the wire that they use for the spoke. And again, this has a step down, which has to be in this wheel. Now if you take a look at this spoke head, and you see how high it's sort of setting in the groove, and if you take this old guy and you slip it in and you put it in there, look how flush that is. And that makes a huge difference when it comes to truing these girls up. And let's just take a look at the difference between the nipples. Now this one here is pretty rusted, but again, you put her in there in the smaller gauge, you've got a lot more room to move. And so you won't get that bowed or bent spoke when you go to true it up. And this girl has no room whatsoever to move. So we're going to get a new set of spokes, proper size, and we will lace it back up into this brake drum. Now I do have to say that this brake drum is quite nice. It almost looks like the old dipped and baked enamel that they use from the factory. So I'm probably going to keep this finish on this front brake drum, because high gloss or a high luster paint job on the brake drums is just not correct. This is more correct than one that is, let's say, over restored. So we'll probably keep that drum the way she is, maybe do a little touch up on it, but all in all, very nice drum, and it looks to me, it almost looks new old stock, so we're going to go ahead and use it just the way she is. So I'll go ahead and finish unlacing this can of worms here, and I think I'm going to go ahead and take these nipples and throw these in the sandblaster as well, because, and you know, I'll send them all out for CAD. Now what happens is when you're installing these and you're taking them out, a lot of times you will round off some of the sharp reveal or edge on the square. So what I'll do is I'll put in 80 or 100 of these nipples, and then I'll pick out the best ones for the wheels. So there you have it, 2 sets of wheels broke down, and next we'll go ahead and get busy on the sandblasting. Oh, by the way, I did already remove the bees on the belt sander off of the ends of these spokes on the rear wheel, but these fronts are not going to be used. So we're going to go on to the next step. In the beginning of this chapter, when we were just getting ready to tear down the wheels, and I was bragging about the fact that I knew the reason why these spokes were bowing in the front brake drum area to the actual rim itself. Well, I stand corrected. I talked to Kenny Buchanan, which he is the guru of all things wheels, and we come to find out that this wheel, this front wheel, is a -30. So the reason why that the spokes are not working properly is that this wheel rim goes to a spool hub, probably like on a VL or something like that, to where it would have a removable front brake drum or back brake or whatever the case is. But this is the incorrect front wheel rim for the 57 Sportster. So this beautiful rim is going to be cast aside. We're going to pick up another rim. I've already talked to Ken about getting in the spokes, and he's going to be sending me a set of stainless steel spokes in the right size, and the nipples are going to be raw steel. After he sends them to me and I buff off the bees and send them out for CAD planing, I'm actually going to send them back to Kenny, and he's going to go ahead and drill the set of the Kelsey Hayes wheel rims, which he sells there, for this proper hub. So once he does that, he drills it out, then we'll send it out for plating. It'll go back to him, and he will relace the wheel properly. So anyhow, that's 3 or 4 steps in the process to make sure we have a good wheel. But if you want to do it right, that's what it takes. Well, we're at the end of this segment of tearing down the wheels. We figured out our problems with regards to the front spoke issues, with the thanks to Kenny Buchanan. Like I mentioned, he is the guru. I've got 2 brake drums here. This is the one we pulled off this bike. I've got this nasty, rusty one here. We're going to go ahead and clean it up, and we'll probably just go ahead and build up 2 front wheels at the same time, since Kenny's going to go ahead and make me a set of spokes and also set me up a Kelsey Hayes front wheel. So I'll have him just make 2. And all I have to do to wrap up items to go to the CAD plater is to go ahead and finish off the sandblasting. A lot of these items are going to either be CAD plate, some Parkerized, maybe some paint. And as you can see, there's quite a few sitting here in the blaster that I've got to spend a few hours on getting all these things prepped. The front steering knob, as you can see, people say, well, why are you going to put that in the sandblaster? Well, take a look at it. Somebody's painted this, and so I'll lightly dust it and get all the paint off, and then we'll just go back and repolish it to make it right. So here we have it, and again, thank you very much for watching this segment, and if you have any questions, please feel free to call me direct at 805-798-1802, and we'll help you out. Okay, again, thank you very much for watching.